Welcome, Hudson Valley, to this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho. Just having a little fun over here. I hope Santa left everything you wanted under the tree and that you're snuggled up somewhere warm and safe with people you love. However you choose to celebrate the holidays, we appreciate that you are spending it with us here on In Touch. Thank you for listening this fine Christmas Sunday. This week's guest is Eric Dalton of Eric Dalton Productions. Eric and I discussed the ever-changing face of the live music scene here in the Hudson Valley, along with the difficulties local artists face building an online fan base. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Eric and myself here on In Touch. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media's public affairs and issues program. And this one is for the musicians. You know, when I got into radio, I'm also a musician, and I've had that combined love. There's a magic to the microphone, and there's a magic to be able to share the music, whether that be nationally, internationally, and especially on a local level. And with us today, a man that I have so much respect for here in the area. He is a songwriter, he is an artist, he is an engineer, he is a producer. He's probably more things than I can possibly name, but this guy is an incredible musician. He's got great perspective on the scene in the area. With us today, we have Eric Dalton. Eric, how are you, man?
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Eric, I just want to start off. I wasn't able to make this show, unfortunately. COVID sucks, but you had an incredible show that I heard at the Chance. You've had a lot of experience working with the Chance in the past, and now here you are on the stage, you're headlining, and it's so great. I got to see you the first time you headlined the Chance, which was amazing, and I'm sure your fans loved your second time back around to the Chance. Could you tell us about that feeling of headlining and how everything went for you?
It's always a pleasure to headline. I mean, I'm still a local guy, but I love seeing the support of friends and family, and also just the new people that come out, and it's just always a great experience. Headlining to me it's more just, it's not so much about hey, I'm headlining. It's more just I wanted to be able to showcase a full hour plus set on how I would see playing. Because we were talking about 30-minute sets and everything, and it's hard to really showcase yourself in 30 minutes when you're trying to show your ups and downs and be more dynamic instead of just drilling everyone with the same thing over and over again.
No, and you had some friends with you along with you this time, a couple of other local bands. And one of the fun things about the local bands that you have with you, they're typically people that you work with behind the scenes in the studio as well, right?
Yeah, the first show we did back in May, I had this punk band, Screw Mimes. They're from Cornwall. I think most of them are from Cornwall. Yeah, I've been working with them for a few years now, recording, and I'd mixed them, I think, once or twice live. I could be mistaken there. Yeah, I've been recording their songs for a few years now. They played at the May show, and they also played at my last show, which my bass player, he's actually, his name's Johnny Blue, and he plays guitar and sings the lead vocals for Screw Mimes, and he's a killer musician. Been working with him for a while. And then also the other band that opened up they're called The Dissidents. They're a new band that I just met for the show. They reached out to me after I announced the show, asking if they could be on them, and they sent me some music. I loved it. And I was like, yeah, man, I really like their vibe too. And I always try to see are they personable, or because I'm a nice guy, and I don't want I want the same thing in return, especially when it's a band I haven't worked with before. And yeah, they're really cool, because the last show I did back in May, that was actually all bands that were on it. All 4 acts were bands I recorded or record. So this time I wanted to have less openers, so that way I can give them more time to play. So we only had 2 openers time, and they both got 45 minutes, and they were all really excited when I told them about that, because that 30 minutes is a killer.
It is. We were talking about this before getting on the mic and everything. as a musician, yeah, 30 minutes, you're like, oh my God, what do I play? Do I got to keep the energy high? Got to keep people interested the whole time? Do I play any covers? Do I play any originals? What's the vibe of this? Probably no ballads unless that's your thing. Once you get that 45 minutes, it's like, oh my God, that's practically an album right there. So that's nice. You're able to work with it. And that's cool that you're able to give that to your opening acts, and I'm glad that you're able to have like a substantial amount of time yourself to promote your music. You've talked about, how you've recorded all these artists. You've had such a background in everything from working sound, doing live, recording, performing yourself. Could you give us a quick background on like how you got here? What got you into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been into music ever since I could remember. Before I even started recording, I was working with other people, of course, and things weren't really coming out the way I wanted to. So I just started to learn it and, do it the wrong way for years until I started to get a sound that I liked. And also just working with other musicians and working as a recording engineer, I just progressed, and I have people that I've worked with over 8 years now, if not 10 years. And all their different albums, I can hear how I got better at doing what I'm doing by just listening to their mixes, like from album to album.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that. And it's also nice to see that they stick around because they know what to expect. Like, and also, like I said before, it's like I become friends with everyone that I work with. And it just makes that experience so much better because you're close with the project too. It's not just a way to make money to you. Like, I take a lot of pride in everything I work on, even when it's not my song. Like, that's just the way I am. Yeah, man, it's just, like, that to me is like super huge because I hear like horror stories where someone's like, oh yeah, I went to the studio and the guy just butchered the song and came out terribly. And I get that because, I've been to places too where the mix came out terrible, and it's like kind of like you don't have any control over that. And like as an artist, when you're trying to put yourself out there, you don't want people to get the wrong idea. And so it's like even when like I listen to pretty much everything, but even when it comes to genres that I don't particularly listen to every day, it's like I still take so much pride in it. I want it to sound just as good as the other album that sounds like of that same genre. And it always gets me happy when I see their reaction when they listen to the first mix and like, dude, this is sick. Like, I just love that.
It's such a rewarding feeling. I know working with artists or working with people on my own music, it's quite rewarding to hear, like, hear their reaction, see their eyes light up, and just like, oh my God. One thing that a former professor of mine always preached, and I think this goes in line with a lot of what you were saying, it's people, it's not just the fact that you do a good job, but it's how people react to you is how you're going to get return calls and all that. It's all about the hang, and it's all about the personal time. You have the credentials, you have the work, but you've brought this up several times. You invest yourself in this, and you have a true connection with everybody that you work with. While some other, producers or engineers will just be in it for another paycheck or just be like another project, you are very much into everything that you are working with and everybody you are with. And I give you a lot of kudos to that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, can't say it better myself. Like, that's just the way I am. Like, you can't really pretend to care.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like I said, I put all my pride into it because, again, at the end of the day, it's representing me. Like, if you put out an album and it sounds bad, then everyone's gonna ask, where did you get that done? Like, yeah, and I don't want that to be a negative outlook on me because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to recording my own music, other bands' music, and then doing mixes for other bands live. Like, I want it to sound, great because, especially live, like once something goes bad, even if it's not your fault, like you can feel the eyes looking at you from the crowd, like, hey man, what's going on? It's like, I'm telling you, like, it's out of my hands sometimes. Like, like, it's not, I mean, I've had times live where the band, like, they haven't worked with me before. They come up to me, and like some bands, I just had terrible experiences with other venues and people, like engineers, like live engineers. And I get it, because I've had it too. And they're a little bit nervous, but then at the end of the set, after they played, they're like, dude, man, that was so great. Thank you so much. And that's the same feeling as when you send like a mix that you just finished mixing in the studio, and you send that to the band, and they get back to you and they're all excited about it. It's like, that's very gratifying.
You're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media of the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. Right now, I am sitting down talking with musician, engineer, producer, Eric Dalton. We've been talking a lot about just kind of the scene and the feeling of working with recording artists, and whether it be, recording artists or live. Something that you just said about working with other engineers, how sometimes you have a good experience, sometimes you have a bad one, brings up two quick stories. I remember when I was working as a sound engineer at this one place, this guy came up to me after a show and he said, "That is the best sound that I've had this entire tour." And it made me feel so warm and happy inside. Right. I know that feeling, and I love getting to share that feeling whenever possible, because I don't know if you remember, I think this was like 2017 or something when we first met. You did sound for me, and that was one of the best
I remember.
It was one of the best live sounds that I had in a while during that time. I was in a lot of really iffy places with iffy sound, but that you made me feel really good. You made me sound really good. And I was just like, just felt so on top of my game because of that.
Yeah, it makes you perform better. Yeah, I remember that. That was at the Loft, right?
Yep, that was at the Loft. Yep.
Yeah.
And it was great. So I wanted to bring that up, and I really appreciate that. So as we're talking about venues and all that, you made a very interesting observation before we got on microphone, was the trend of what people are doing when it comes to performing live these days. With the pandemic, it's kind of messed up a lot of venues. It's messed up a lot of the vibe or people that are still around. I don't want to speak for you. I want you to say what you said to me before. Like, what are some of those things that you're observing here, in the scene that's changed with the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely goes by the area that you're in. I mean, for instance, our area, I'm in Wappingers, but there's really not many places to play venue-wise. It's more like bar scenes, and a lot of I believe I mentioned too, like a lot of farms are doing shows too.
The farms, yes.
Breeze. But even so, with that, it's like that type of bar scene like that, farms do. It's like you got to play they expect 3 hours of music, and when you're an original artist trying to promote yourself, you gotta squeeze in like 2.5 hours of covers, and then the other half hour is original, because they'll even say hey, you need to have covers, and they'll probably sometimes look at your cover list to make sure you're doing ones that they are okay with. So it's really hard to promote yourself. I feel nowadays like that, because it's just the area that we're in particularly. Unless you're going down to the city, but then again, you got to sell tickets. Every event, if you're going to play at an actual venue, you got to sell tickets, and that's a hard thing to do when you're an hour and a half from the city and you don't have that many people down by the venue that you think can help promote you. It's definitely a challenge, but that's where social media comes into play. Yeah, that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole other thing right there, a whole other animal to try to compete with. No, one thing you mentioned with the farms and all that, how a lot of places have built their own stages. If they didn't have one before, they have one now. I feel like the stereotypical venue, at least in this area, is, I shouldn't say disappearing, but scarce. When our folks were around, roughly our age, I remember my folks would tell me they would go see bands all the time at all these different places. Those places don't exist anymore. Or they changed so much where it's not the same.
All those old venues turned into CVS's and Italian restaurants.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. So it's very difficult to find a place. And I know that vibe of playing 3 hours and hoping to squeeze in a few originals in there. It's a difficult task.
I know. I've seen you do it.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming out and seeing me do it. No, it's
yeah, of course, man.
But that's the thing, though. It really is difficult to try to push out there with this area. Like even 10 years ago, even though there is so much music and so much art going around, 10 years ago, I feel like it was a different scene than it is today, where there were more opportunities. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. It just seems like more and more so like people, I mean, at least younger generation. I'm talking about even people like around like my age. Even like it's just like it just seems like less people are interested in going out to an event where they're getting so much stimulation from just streaming things and whatnot. Because like going back to what you were saying, our parents, like back in the day, like I can't tell you how many stories I've heard where it's like, oh yeah, bands wouldn't even start until like 11 p.m. and we'd play until like 4 a.m. and the places were packed every night. And I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine that now.
No, because you're right. 11 p.m. is when you're getting out the door most of the time. 11 midnight. Yeah. Nobody's expecting to still be at the show by that point. Everybody's expecting to be gone at that point. You're right. Yeah, like 4 o'clock used to be the norm. If I could probably name you the times that I've actually done that on one hand.
I mean, I've gotten home at like 4 a.m. before, but
yeah,
that's because we were playing in the city and, drive 3 hours to get back. But yeah, I've never played a show, or even in places alone. You don't really see places that are open that late anymore, unless it's like kind of like a dance scene.
Yeah. Well, especially around here these days, I know with the pandemic, a lot of the hours shortened. Hell, a lot of the bars that I go to probably close around 2 these days. So, you know, at the absolute latest, that's like prime time for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the time so much matters. It's more just like, the people aren't there as it used to be. I just, like I said, it's not that it's probably not even out. I don't even know why, but like, I'm thinking with everything you hear going on in the news and shit, like people are just like, I'm not going to risk going out anywhere, but who knows?
There is a fear factor, whether it's incidences, whether it's violence, whether it's a pandemic, illness, stuff like that. People are timid. And as you said, there's so much more stimulation online when it comes to streaming and content. And it's hard to compete with and hard to, keep working on. One thing, though, that I've seen that you've been doing a really good job with is, putting out stuff just to keeping your crowd engaged. You have music videos that you produce. You have live show photos that you constantly put up. You're always finding a way to engage the audience. And I've always seen that. I've respected that. Could you tell us a little bit about making your videos, those for yourself? And I know you do it for other people too, right?
It's funny. I have a guy that I've been recording for a few years and we became really good friends, great friends. And he actually talked me into filming one of my songs, like a music video. And I just did that on my phone because I had like an iPhone at the time, shot in 4K. I was like, all right, cool. And we just did it for fun. And it came out pretty good. It was for my song Firefly. After I released that, a bunch of the other bands that I work with, they're like, hey, man, would you want to do a video for me? So that's when I went out and invested and bought like an actual camera because I wasn't going to do all that with my phone. But so I don't really do so much pictures wise, but music videos that I do. And I really love doing that and collaborating with the artists, like figure out what they want story wise going on, the location, whatever. Yeah, for me, it's whenever I do one of my music videos, I kind of have like an idea of what I want to do. And it's more like, kind of like as I go, like I would figure it out as I go along because it's just for fun. And, but that, I mean, what you're getting to before with content, that's always, I feel like the biggest struggle with anyone with social media is you don't want to put you play one show and you have like 100 photos, don't release them all at once.
Yes. Save them. Have a rotation.
Even the videos, like you don't have to post the whole show. Like post like a 10-second clip of the song and then, a month later post a different you can have the same video, post a different 10-second clip of the song. That's how I kind of work my way around that. And I'm sure other people will do the same.
No, it's a very smart way of going about it. It's wise. You're right. Just kind of like a magician. Don't show off everything all at once. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
You're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We've been talking with Eric Dalton. We've been talking about his studio a little bit. We've been talking about shows. We've been talking about the scene. I want to give you a moment now. You have your own studio that we've talked about plenty, but I want to give you a chance to highlight and promote it for a sec. And I also want to give you a second to talk about the album that you put out this year and where people can find it and where people can, hire you and listen to you and all that.
The studio, you can find me at ericdaltonproductions.com. It's ERIC for anyone who's wondering. And of course, I'm on Instagram, Eric Dalton Productions, and my music as well. It's Eric Dalton Music on Instagram. You can find it pretty much on any streaming platform, Apple Music, Spotify. Yeah, man.
No, very cool. Like, how'd you feel putting out that album? It's a phenomenal album. I wrote an article about it earlier in the year. People should go check that out. I'll link it in the In Touch article. But how's that feel to, put that out and, to still get engagement off of it and still be, at least as a fan and as somebody's listening, it's like, it still feels fresh. It still feels great. And I love listening.
It's funny, like 3 years ago, I kind of stopped working with the bands I was with because it was just never felt right. And that's when I really started diving into recording my own solo stuff. I put out an album every year, and so I'm up to 3 right now. Not that I'm going for quantity, but yeah, it's just, it feels like same thing. Like I feel like the production, like I can hear the sound morphing into something that I really. I love all the tracks on it. It's like I was going to have, there was more tracks that I was going to put on it, but I just felt like they weren't coming out the way I wanted. And I didn't want to put something out there just to have the count of the track count. So this one only has, there's 11 tracks total. I think only 9 actual songs on it. And then there's an intro and a interlude on it. Yeah, man, I always love experimenting too. Like just trying different things on each album, different vibes of the songs. Like there's songs in the album that don't really there'll be a metal song and then there'll be a pop rock song, and then they'll have a tribal ambient vocal whatever doing whatever. I just like that. I like having the variety.
It's great having the variety. It's a terrific album, and I really recommend people checking it out. And I think listening to the album, you'll get a sense of the incredible work that Eric does. And if you're an artist looking for something, it's I think that's your ticket in to check it all out.
Yeah, I don't even think the album's called Playing Favorites. I don't even think I mentioned that.
Oh, Playing Favorites. Yes, Playing Favorites. Yes, definitely need to let people know that. And Eric, you're a terrific engineer, producer, terrific guy. Really appreciate having you. Is there any last comments you want to give to our In Touch listeners?
Definitely stay in touch with your local scene and keep supporting music. Everyone that that's trying to do something music, keep supporting.
Amen, brother. I really appreciate it. Eric, thank you so much for being on In Touch.
Yeah, dude, thank you for having me.
This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Eric Dalton. To learn more, visit ericdaltonproductions.com. That and all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. In Touch keeps growing and growing. I'm excited to announce that you can now stream In Touch wherever you listen to podcasts. That's right, you can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on this radio station's app and website. Don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. We're booking guest spots for 2023. It's going to be here in no time. Whether you have a topic you want discussed or you want to be a guest, the best way to contact us is through our office number, 845-471-1500, or email direct to connor.walsh@townsquaremedia.com. I've been your host,
Connor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time. Merry Christmas.